Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dave, and this is Alaskan Homesteading. Today I'm working in the shop. I have some siding to make for the chicken coop. I have been working on the siding for a while with some help from my partner, and we have a pretty decent stack of shiplap that we've made. So this is all just shy of 3/4 inch thick, and we've got our little rabbets cut on each side. Everybody's kind of sanded down, basically pretty smooth, and we are ready for stain on this stack. This may look like a fair bit of siding. It is not. I need another, I don't know, probably 600 lineal feet, 700 lineal feet of this stuff. I'm not even sure. I haven't multiplied here to see how many feet I actually have, but I need a bunch more. So I am working on planing wood today. I've got this rough sawn 1-inch birch that I'm cutting down. Some of this is in better shape than others, and what we're ending up with is pieces that look like this, which I think are just absolutely gorgeous. In fact, this is so nice looking, I'm not going to put the dark stain on it that we're going to put on the rest of the siding. And in fact, I think this will end up being maybe a door trim or window trim instead of siding. I left this one at right about 3/4 of an inch thick, and we'll cut this down into kind of some narrower pieces on the table saw and use that for trim. So I think it's just too pretty to use for siding. Look at that, that's gorgeous. Anyway, I am going to plane some more pieces of this and we'll see what we get out of them. These boards have some defects. This is birch that was down for probably a couple of years and was kind of on its way to being rotten, and that's actually why it looks so beautiful inside, I think. I think that wood has started to transform a bit. Anyway, let's get the planer fired up and get started. And before we get started on the planer, there's our improvised shop air filter, which, as you can see, has been working pretty well. These filters have collected a lot of dust, and I'm gonna have to get some fresh filters pretty soon. But for right now, I'm super happy with the performance of this unit. I mean, I guess it was about 50 bucks in filters, I end up with a pretty good setup. Well, we've got ourselves another pretty nice looking piece of birch here. Sorry about the shadows, but that's just how the shop lighting is at the moment. And it's got some really pretty grain to it. You know, even with the knots and everything, this grain is just gorgeous. And I'm really happy with this planer that I bought. You know, I got it used off of Facebook Marketplace, like so many other of my treasures. And you know, all I had to do with it was put in a fresh set of knives, and we've got a pretty nice finished product coming out of it. That's really nice and smooth. piece of wood out of the raw lumber I've got, is using the jointer. And this is another nice Facebook Marketplace find, a couple $100. And again, new set of knives, a little bit of cleaning, and it's good to go. Let's get started on this part. The purpose of the jointer is to create 90-degree angles on the edges of your boards. It has a known flat surface and a known 90-degree surface. And you can adjust the angle down here. You use a square and you get it trued up so that they're at exactly 90 degrees to each other. And that's how you know that your board has a perfect 90-degree angle on its side. Got a little imperfection in the side of the board here. This was, of course, rough cut lumber, and the problem that you get is sometimes where you have a different density in the board, the bandsaw will kind of dip or rise as it goes through that area. And so I've got kind of a little belly in the edge of the board here. And every time I go through this, I'm taking off about a 1/16 of an inch on a pass with the jointer. But what I really need is essentially one straight edge on this board to use as a reference when I rip it on the table saw. So I really need to get this nice and flat and straight on this edge. Maybe one more pass will do it. We'll see. I use it as a straight edge sometimes, and that is looking really good, really nice and straight on that side. That's perfect, or at least as perfect as it gets with the sort of crude old tools that I have here. Now that I've got this smoothed out on the planer and jointed on one side, I want to find kind of the minimum dimension that this thing has, you know, on it in its width. So that's about 5 7/8 there. I think this might be a little narrower. Yeah, that's like 5 13/16. 5 7/8, almost exactly 6. So there's definitely a little bit of a belly here. This little area, I guess, just it was denser than the rest of it, and so when I milled it on the bandsaw, it just didn't quite work. So I'm going to try and rip this down to 5 3/4. That'll get the most out of this board that we can, with it being one single piece, and we'll go from there. 5 3/4 is right there. We'll confirm that. Just a little bit more to account for the kerf. There we go. So just a safety note on the table saw, I have mine configured without the anti-kickback device and the little safety shield that goes over the blade. I do that because on these pieces, when I'm ripping, it really gets in the way. It really interferes with the work piece going through smoothly, especially that anti-kickback claw that hangs down from the riving knife. It really likes to dig into the surface of the wood, and you know, this is basically an almost finished piece of wood, so I don't want to get it all scuffed up and scratched and marred with those teeth. I do obviously use the ripping fence and have the riving knife in place, but you know, if you're going to use a table saw, just be aware of the danger that comes with them. Terrible things can happen very quickly, so just be very cautious and don't necessarily follow what I'm doing as any kind of advice. We're just going to touch this up with some 120 grit. I'm all ready for the Ryobi hate in the comments, but work with what you got. Clean this up a little bit and see how it looks. Wipe it down. That's really nice. That is some beautiful grain. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. You've now seen me take one piece of rough cut 1x6 lumber down to 3/4 inch finished lumber. So this will be good for trim, I think, on the Coop. It'll make nice trim boards. It's nice and smooth, got a beautiful grain, and I cannot wait to use it. Well, thanks for watching. I hope that you're enjoying more of the Chicken Coop series here. There's a lot of work going into this building, but I think it is going to be magnificent when it's completed. All of this kind of handmade finished lumber going on there is going to really give it a nice finished look. If you are enjoying this content, go ahead and subscribe so you can see more of it. We'll see you next time.